7th day of August, 2012. You have found it the tip of the spear in the info war worldwide to awaken the people of the planet to the scientific tyranny known as the New World Order. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be here for the next 3 hours, and what I want to do is open the phones up in this hour ahead of William Gregg, who writes for the New American Magazine and LouRockwell.com. He is going to be joining us to talk about the drone culture, the submarine drones, the aircraft drones, the ground combat robots, and where all of this is leading. And I want to break down basically how we're allowing ourselves, humans, want to unionize in things so other humans can't drive down their wages. What about machines and pre-programmed machines? And out of the gates, the takeover by machines, because always the cutting edge of technology is weapons, is going to be unmanned and autonomous robots. Big discussion. We'll also get his take on the shooting. He's broken down the fact that not just the general public, but police have been caught on video beating the living daylights out of Sikhs, I guess thinking they're the al-Qaeda archetype when it's the opposite group, basically. There was one case where a Sikh was beat up in his own front yard by a police officer on video, and for putting his hands over his face as he was being stomped and hit with a baton, he was found that he was resisting arrest. And the courts have ruled that if you cover your teeth as they're being kicked in, you're going to go to prison. And this is all just the icing on the cake for a society on the verge of total collapse. We obviously have a lot of news on the situation that took place Sunday there in Wisconsin. The evidence points towards Operation Gladio, or a NATO option as it was also known, being incrementally implemented here in the United States. We're going to be breaking all of that down as well today. And I also want to spend some time on all of the pecking that's going on by government to make sure it's milk cows, it's slaves, it's blood bags, the things the mosquito class, the parasite class feeds off of. They're very upset right now because, well, people are selling tomatoes on street corners and lemons and things like that. And I also saw reports over the weekend all over the United States and Canada. They're saying no gardens, even in rural areas. They're evil. They're not allowed. Slaves aren't allowed to grow plants. I mean, you don't allow prisoners to grow gardens. You don't allow families to have farms. You don't allow the owners of fast food chains to have political views. You don't do that in America. This is land of the tortured, home of the slave. This is land of the GMO. This is land of the sterile, land of the cancer, land of the organ failure, land of the cursed, land of the dead. You see, the New World Order wants to persecute those who have committed crimes against evil. Crimes against evil. That's not a joke. They want to persecute and prosecute and destroy anyone who's wholesome and good, because in their evil takeover, it's anathema. It's like crosses or holy water or garlic to a vampire. As long as we are a strong, upright, focused, conscious population, they can't cross the threshold. But if they can spiritually and culturally sell us on giving into evil, then the sky is the limit. Once we think evil's cute, once we think corruption is cute, once we buy into things like that, the shields are down and we are wide open. Here is the toll-free number to join us on any of the issues that Mike Adams did a great job covering yesterday, along with myself calling in and the crew here. We would love to hear from you today on geopolitical developments, on all of it. I will, after I give the number out, start breaking down the situation as best I can in Wisconsin. The toll-free number to join us is 1-800-259-9230, 1-800-259-9231. And we will go to your phone calls here coming up at the start of the next segment. But let me now just start with the basics. You have an election year, and you have Obama behind in the polls. You have Obama run and financed basically by banker and Chicago mafia. You have Obama and his surrogates in 3 different fundraising letters and in an article in the Financial Times of London. Paul Watson links to this. In his Sikh temple shooter was an Army psychological operations. Batman shooter James Holmes was also connected to military psychiatrist. Yeah, top psychiatrist. In that report, we link to the articles, to the videos. There's actually more than 4. 3 different fundraisers, 1 article, and then another statement. 2 statements on hardball with Chris Matthews by Democratic top advisors. So that's 4, 5, 6. 6 incidences in the last 2 years of them saying a mass shooting would really help Obama. This is hardball, slimeball, because it would let him reconnect with the public. And then you have the fundraisers saying, don't worry if he gets behind in the polls before the election, because our projections show he will. There'll be a mass shooting or a bombing, and it'll be blamed on domestic groups. I mean, we've read these articles. We've played these clips here at nauseum. If you're a new listener, go read the article, follow the links to it. And then this stuff starts happening right on time while they've got 5 bills introduced to ban all semi-autos, the possession of them, not just the sale or manufacture. To ban clips with more than 10 rounds, to ban online ammo sales, to register you when you buy guns. The list goes on, to allow the government to just restrict you owning guns, no judge, no jury. Not like felons with the 68 Gun Control Act. It's a nightmare. We've never seen such draconian bills. And the media's gotten slick. They've learned just to not promote the bills. Used to, they'd introduce them and promote them and say we need to pass them. They've gotten more sophisticated. They have now come out and aren't discussing it. Or they say, we don't want your guns. We don't want your guns. You've won the debate. We agree there's a Second Amendment. It means a powder, black powder, flintlock muzzle loader. How does that sound? That's what they've done. So they're playing a psychological warfare operation. And then magically, right on time, this happens. Now, if you go over Holmes or you go over this new individual, if you look at it, it fits exactly what we'd predicted. It's not hard to do. And there's so many data points backing up the fact that this is the beginning of an Operation Gladio or NATO option here in the United States. Because we know it's been used in Europe to take the guns, in England, in Australia, and in New Zealand. This has been done over and over again, and we've followed all these past cases, and we know the playbook that private globalist mercenary organizations carry out. And we also know the playbook. We also know the playbook that has been used by governments, and we even have things like Operation Northwoods that describes how to shoot U.S. citizens and then how to blame patsies. And that's a Pentagon green-lighted plan all the way up to the president. And then we have Gladio and the NATO option, both the same thing. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Some estimates, well, confirmed it's over 200, but overall 500 are suspected to have been NATO-carried out terror attacks and mass shootings in Europe in the 60s, 70s, and 80s to blame political enemies of the globalist. So I'll go to your calls at the bottom of the hour. I need to come back and cover this. We're going to go to break, and I'm going to get a drink of water here. And we're going to try to go over all of this. Thank you. Got my water. Forgot to get one. Thank you. But I don't just come on air and say, oh, this is an inside job. I've learned all the signs, and these are sloppy operations. These don't count on these things being carried out with precision like fantasy Mission Impossible or something. These things all count on control of the media. Control of the media and control of the first story to come out from the beginning. It doesn't matter what really happened as long as you can put out the first narrative and keep that, quote, trust with the public. And the public doesn't trust the system anymore, but they still are naive about just how evil these globalists are. So I'm going to try to break this down just very, very simply on the other side, and then we'll go to your phone calls. Alex Jones here with a very important announcement for truth seekers. We've carried a lot of amazing films and books over the years on the online video bookstore at infowars.com. And out of all the titles we've carried, one stands out because it is just so chillingly convincing. And that's Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert, available at infowars.com. This film exposes the fraud that Obama is like nothing I've seen. If you want to know who Obama's real daddy is, this is the film for you. Don't forget, your purchase supports our broadcast and our growing media network. You'll also find at InfoWarsShop.com, None Dare Call a Conspiracy by Gary Allen, the book that woke me up. We're also carrying Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21 by Rosa Corey. This book is coffin nails to the globalist takeover. The Greater Good, the most professional and up-to-date film I've ever seen exposing the scourge that is vaccines. These titles and a lot more are all available at InfoWarsShop.com. Okay, so if you're a new listener and you tune in yesterday and you hear Mike Adams on the show, the Health Ranger, you hear Alex Jones calling in to his own radio broadcast saying it's an inside job, a false flag, a staged event. You probably don't know it's in U.S. Army manuals that were leaked by WikiLeaks, and the Army admitted that indeed they do teach people in special operations in select groups how to stage false flags. You probably didn't know there's countless declassified instances of our military going around the world and shooting up schools, school buses, you name it, to blame it on their political enemies. Because that's how you win wars, if you're just given over to Machiavellian worldview of end justifies the means. You know, a new listener probably doesn't know that Hitler firebombed his own Reichstag to take over or launched attacks on his own military bases in 1939 at Gleiwitz as part of Operation Himmler, false flag attacks all over their border to blame Poland. But see, I live the real world, so I know what these things look like. And then you've got our own government doing this countless times. You've got Obama's top advisors saying terror attacks are coming and the right wing is going to be blamed. They mean the real right wing, the anti-New World Order crowd. And then you have the Batman shooting and the instant hype, and the military top psychiatrist and the guy himself is in a mind control grant looking at areas of neural manipulation at the highest levels of a DARPA contract. Just everything we expected. I said, watch there be military psychiatrists. It's always the same. This guy now was in Army PSYOPs for 6 years. Clearly sheep-dipped. That's exactly who they take out of the military. They're not really out. Put in deep cover inside white supremacist groups, just like Tim McVeigh at Elohim City, run by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Jesse Trinity's brother was tortured and killed because they thought he had knowledge of it. The lawyer sued, kept suing, kept getting FOIA requests blacked out, but they blacked out one part of a document once. He sued through another court, got the same document with another part blacked out, put the two together, and it was the Southern Poverty Law Center running the entire operation. And guess who's all over this as usual? Turns out the FBI was surveilling this group. Oh, I bet they were. And by the way, it's a group. And did a cop shoot the patsy and stop him? Or Was this all a setup, or was somebody else a planned patsy? It's got all the markers. I could go on for 10 hours is the problem. She got the White House saying, don't worry, there's going to be events that we're going to blame on people. Now, they don't say they're going to do it. They say there will be mass shootings and bombings, and it will help the president connect with the public. They even say it on Hardball. That's how dumb they think you are. They say this in front of you because they know they control the dominant media. It's still somewhat dominant, but not for long. And so they can push the narrative out. They can push the narrative. So I'm sitting here watching them get ready for it. Okay, the bills are being introduced. Here comes the UN treaty. It's going to start right now. I had guests on a month before this happened saying, I had the makers of A Noble Lie on saying, get ready. We all agreed, mass shootings at churches, malls, movie theaters, sports stadiums, everywhere they're going to put the TSA. And boom, it happened right as the TSA was already rolling out nationwide. I mean, you know, they're rolling out a week. On January 1st, they were rolling out in over 100 airports. So they staged the underwear bombing, put the guy on the plane. That all came out in the news. And said, oh, we've decided to put these in because of the underwear bombing when they'd ordered the manufacturer 14, 15 months before, and they were going to be delivered the next week, so the bombing happens. I mean, listen, it's like U.S. troops massed, 44,000 of them, with 16 or was it 18,000 British troops in and around Afghanistan in the month before 9/11, and Bush signed the launch order to attack Afghanistan in 7 days on September 10th. You watch it, it'd be like the Poles watching the German military line up. The Poles said, international community, stop them from attacking us. They're lining up to attack. Boom, the Germans attack their own military base and then invade Poland. I mean, I watch them build up, put out the memos, get ready, introduce the bills, stage it, and then it's always Army PSYOP and Army psychiatrist and Air Force psychiatrist, and witnesses see 4 shooters. The head of the Sikh group said there were men casing the joint the day before, police driving off. Of course. They probably ran a drill. They've got undercover drills and called a cop and shot the cop, and then they probably shot the patsy in the back of the head. If I had to guess, that's how they operate. You ever seen Mark Wahlberg's movie, The Shooter? You better go rent that or watch it on Netflix today, because that's exactly what they do. Okay? Exactly what they do. This guy was probably infiltrating white supremacists.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
The criminal bankers that hijacked our country in 1913 have pretty much taken over most of the state governments and now the bureaucracy. They had a beachhead in 1913 with the private Federal Reserve and the income tax they set up. And how do they launch wars? Well, back then, because the media moved so slow in 1898, they just published in Hearst newspapers all over the country that the Spanish troops in Cuba had attacked U.S. troops and were killing women and children and had blown up the USS Maine. And, of course, none of that was true. It was all made up. But it was unpatriotic to say that. Besides, Hearst Publishing wouldn't engage in a lie that big. You see, once a big lie is pushed out there and people buy into it, then they don't want to admit they've been conned. And so many bigwigs will go down that once the power structure, who isn't even really involved in the crime, goes along with the story, they now become complicit. And so now you can get them involved in anything you want after that point. That's how you corrupt someone or how you corrupt a society. And so cold-bloodedly, we have a government, and then I'm going to go to your calls, who has been caught, this current administration, shipping tens of thousands of guns and even hand grenades, rocket launchers, you name it, to Mexico to destabilize the country and to blame the Second Amendment. And all the memos came out that that was their plan. And Congress is so blackmailed, they're acting like they're going after them, but really aren't. And so the very same crew that ran Fast and Furious, the very same names, are now in command and ran Fast and Furious. The very same names were involved in Oklahoma City. And by the way, I didn't just start saying this under Fast and Furious. I made a film 10 years ago called Road to Tyranny, naming names and showing documents of who did Oklahoma City, risking my life. I've interviewed the police officers. I've interviewed the former head of Air Force Weapons Development. I've interviewed the workers in the building who saw the government agents and named them later, planting the bombs that they thought were yellow sticks of butter or gray sticks of butter, and they wondered why telephone repairmen would be doing that and stringing wires. So if you've got a group that did that and picked the building because it had a daycare center in it, and G, they write public memos saying a terror attack to be blamed on their enemies is how they're going to get reelected. And Bill Clinton said on Air Force One to entire media in '96 that he owed his reelection to the Oklahoma City bombing. They don't even veil this stuff. This is how they get unpopular things through. This is how they get control of the population. And they've been quietly getting ready to shift over from saying that it's foreign Muslims that are the terrorists, and that's why we've got to give our rights up, shifting now over to domestic groups. And who do they say are the terrorists? Gun owners, libertarians, conservatives, returning veterans, retired police officers. Homeland Security, that is this banker occupation takeover, is saying all the veterans are bad because they have profiled them and know that down the road when stuff gets really bad and they try to implement the re-education camps and the gun confiscation, that it's going to be veterans that are going to be the group that resist. Americans who have used force before, who don't mind dying, and who are sick and tired of it. They've profiled. They know you know it's not that big of a deal to kill somebody. They know it's not taboo for you anymore. They're soldiers themselves, a lot of the globalists. They just like to kill people. You don't like to kill people. You're just willing to do it to protect your family. They hate you. They know you're willing to fight them. So they're massing drones and robots and automated weapon systems and high tech against you, while recruiting a slovenly group of TSA to be their pot-bellied commanders, just like Hitler did with the brown shirts, on the ground to bully the military and others into submission. Then when they finally take it over the military and police, they're going to let you kill the brown shirts. This has all been figured out. This has all been done over and over again. They'll use the brown shirts to take over, to get rid of the old guard. Then they'll let the new military guard, who's disgusted by the pot-bellied rulers, you'll be able to take them out. See, it's all been figured out, and I don't want to get off into too sophisticated of areas. The point is, tyrants follow very specific playbooks, and the timing, the Army PSYOP, the witnesses saying they were being cased, multiple witnesses saying 4 shooters, all of this fits together. Just like Oklahoma City, you've got a high-level Army officer at a high level of national security, which means banker security, infiltrating a white supremacist nest over the last decade. Most of the members are FBI agents or informants trying to target weak minds that they can provocateur into an attack. And if you can't do that, you go and say you're going to have a sting at a temple. You wind somebody up to finally go in and shoot a bunch of people. Or you have special ops, generally from a foreign country, or mercenaries, do it, and you kill the patsy on the spot who typecast into the area you want. And I don't know which one it is, but within the quadrants, it's right there. It's exactly what I would expect. It's exactly what I predicted. Over and over again, you've heard me here. So I said I'd go to your phone calls. We'll go to them now. I'm sure it'll be all over the map, but that's okay. India is seeking more security, the Hindu is reporting, for their religious places in the U.S. The idea that police are going to protect you or can protect you. The answer is you should have armed security. You should pick deacons who are trusted members of your congregation, whether you're a synagogue, a mosque, a church, a Sikh church, there with their Sunday school, more akin to Christianity than, Hinduism or Buddhism. And I said Sunday, I said it could be in Lone Nut, who, you know, sees guys with bright turbans and thinks it's bin Laden and is sick of looking at it and gets mad at his wife and is destitute and wants to commit suicide by cop, so he goes over and shoots some people at a Sikh temple. That was a possibility Sunday, and we said that could be what it was, but my gut, because of the timing and the reports of 4 shooters, didn't say that. Then the PSYOP officer stuff came out, and the police recordings and all the rest of it, and the timing and the hyping of it. I mean, here's my final point, and I'm going to your calls. You better look up Operation Gladio. Much of it's been declassified. Mass shootings and bombings of movie theaters, school buses, train stations, you name it, all over Europe. It's all come out in Italian government. Their own president went public. Operation Gladio was staged to blame the Second Amendment. Period. Operation Gladio was staged to blame their Second Amendment style systems of liberty and freedom over there, and was used to disarm them. And it was used to go after any political party they didn't like, whether it be right-wing or left-wing, that was anti-globalist and wasn't playing ball. We sell a book called Gladio, NATO's Dagger at the Heart of Europe. That's how you nudge people in doing what you want. And you better look into it, you better find out, because Operation Gladio Part 2 is being implemented inside the United States. It started at the end of World War II. NATO put in countries they thought were going to be overrun by the Soviets. The bankers knew they were. They were funding the Soviets as a clash of civilizations, to be able to be sleeper cells to engage in sabotage. They were really used to stage terror attacks to blame their enemies, because frame-ups are the #1 way to be able to go after your enemies. I mean, it's very simple. No amount of regular propaganda can be as effective as staging a shooting or bombing and blaming your enemy. You drug up the patsy or you kill them on the spot. These are all the telltale signs. All right, I'm done ranting. We'll go to your calls till 8 after, and we have a guest joining us. Eli in Virginia, thanks for holding. You're on the air on this Tuesday transmission. Go ahead.
Sir, it's an honor and a privilege to talk to you. I just wanted to say I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is clearly an inside job. I'm actually a former police officer. I'm 24. I worked for the Commonwealth of Virginia as a police officer, and I've been in the meetings where they say domestic terrorists are people who quote the Bible or question an officer's authority under the Constitution or vote for Ron Paul. I've been in those briefings, and I got out of the career and trying to make it on my own now, support my family, but I'm with you 100%, Alex. I mean, this is so clearly what's going on. What frustrates me so much is you see people responding exactly the way the government wants. They say, I've been reading on the comments on the news articles about the shooting, they say, oh yeah, we've spent billions overseas trying to stop terrorism, but what about domestic terrorism? We need to give gun control a good look. We need to stop these domestic terrorists. Well, I can tell you what the cops think domestic terrorism is. They think it's white supremacists, Nazi groups, Christians, and Ron Paul voters. That's what the police officers think. And,
well, that's what they're certainly trying to teach them. It's actually backfired, as a lot of police have looked into who they're being told the terrorists are. But look, the foreign banks have openly announced they've conquered the U.S., and now they want to go after the opposition that understands what's happening. But were the other police officers where you were in Virginia, were they buying this? Because, I mean, I don't just have to believe you. I have the training manuals. If you're a new listener out there, folks, we have the training videos where they say the Founding Fathers are bad, freedom is bad, conservatives are bad, returning veterans are the terrorists. And so Homeland Security keeps saying this is about to happen. The new enemy is the American people. This is how they flip the script on us. I mean, how many of the police officers that you were around bought into this brainwashing?
Actually, quite a lot. I mean, it's what's being pushed, you know, Homeland Security. I mean, when you got FEMA and your fusion centers telling you this stuff, and it's, you know, intel and law enforcement sensitive only, you know, they kind of go in a club, you know, it's like a secret group. And
exactly. It's like it's like 7-year-olds being invited up by the 10-year-olds into the clubhouse just so they can have you, you know, do stupid stuff. That's all this is. And none of it's real intel. It's all this regurgitated Southern Poverty Law Center, ADL. ADL is basically Mossad. propaganda that is fed to the police. It is so pathetic.
And it just keeps all the populace just living their normalcy bias and Stockholm syndrome, just happy to have the government caring for them. But just one more thing, Alex, and I'll get off. I know you're a busy man. I know you said that you need somebody in Virginia as a reporter. I'm right outside of D.C., and I know you probably get everybody telling you this, but it would be an honor and a privilege to work for you. I've got a paralegal certification. I quit my job in a heartbeat to work for you. It'd be a great honor. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, send your info in. Here's my problem. A, it's getting money to hire people. B, it's then managing them. I've got a great crew. The problem is I have to tell people and train them, and it's all a time issue. I almost don't want to do my show for like a month and just try to get everything set up the way I want it set up around here, because it's the frustration of always having to do 10 things. But we are in the arena, so that's what it's all about. But God bless you. I appreciate your call. Send us your information. We're trying to hire a bunch of reporters / video editors in-house. And then we do want to get next phase correspondents out there. I mean, I would just suggest you start doing your own YouTube channel, sir. Start doing your own reports. And then that's how you'd end up getting hired somewhere. Let's go ahead and talk to Michael in Oklahoma. Michael, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Michael, hey, Alex, thanks for taking my call. I got something so important to tell you about Prozac, James Holmes, and mind control. And this may go back all the way to the MK Ultra experiments. I have 4 friends the other day who experimented with LSD, and they all, after about the 6-hour mark, started coming down off it, except one girl. She kept getting higher and higher and higher. And the one difference between her and all the other people is she has a prescription for Prozac, and she takes Prozac on a regular basis. And she got so high, she lost her mind, and she started attacking people. She started trying to bite our friends. She tore the house apart. I mean, she got so crazy.
Yeah, no. I mean, sir, that's what they did in mind control, is they do electroshock to totally confuse you. Then they give you LSD, PCP, and other drugs at the same time, horse tranquilizers, so that all that's operating is your lower animal centers of your brain. And, of course, everybody you see doing these zombie attacks is on 4 or 5 drugs mixed together. And, yes, sir, the Mumbai attacks, the CIA in India, this even came out in the news. At the time, I said they were clearly from the video on drugs, totally wild-eyed. They were on injectable LSD and PCP and, quote, other drugs that were synthetic, and the Indians couldn't figure out what they were. They said they were some new designer drug. They landed those guys. They'd probably been drugged up for 6 months in hospital beds, you know, with video games, pumping in shooter scenarios. That's one way they do mind control. And then they just turn them loose. The boats land, you release them, and it's your party time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and you won't believe this. And well, she got so crazy that, you know, she was biting and going. He was so afraid that his lady was going to, like, hurt herself. He called 911. And anybody tripping on LSD does not want to call the police. Well, of course, they show up. They arrest everybody. And, you know, she has to stay the night in the hospital. And it wasn't until the next day before she finally came down. She had no recollection whatsoever of that happening at all.
Sir, if you take Xanax with alcohol, it can do that. The guy a few months ago that shot a cop for no reason in Walmart, his roommate said he would take, you know, huge dosages of Xanax and drink. I've talked to friends who've, you know, been in a car wreck, so they give them some Xanax for depression, and they drink 2 beers and don't know who they are and wake up 8 hours later in another town drooling in a parking lot. I mean, look, they've got all these wild drugs that are giving us. You're going to see this happen. But imagine what government can do with those drugs and mind control. You add electroshock to it, and then they put these audio sensors on them and just pump audio and visual in. You show somebody over 6 months, over 20 or 30 week-long drug trips. You put somebody on that stuff that long, you can totally erase who they are. And then put a gun in their hand, the rest is history.
That just so reminded me, as soon as I was listening to your weekly nightly news show just the other night, and when you were talking about Prozac, and James Holmes was prescribed Prozac, and now he has no memory of the accident whatsoever, that just so totally reminded me of that, because all of them had a great time and was totally fine, but she was the only one that kept getting higher and higher, and then she went crazy.
Well, yeah, she had a chemical imbalance. Yeah, look, here's the deal. LSD gives you a chemical imbalance, but you add things in there like a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, her brain just kept absorbing and absorbing and absorbing the LSD until she probably, you know, took the equivalent of 20 tabs of it or more. And that's when people jump off buildings. That's when people eat their baby. Prozac is a hallucinogen. Read the insert.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
If you would like to support the broadcast, you can always spread the word about the show, whether you're listening on a local AM and FM station or XM 166, or you can always listen to the free podcast after the show, where and when you want, or get the free iPhone or Droid apps that are all linked on the listen page of infowars.com. You can also listen to the live audio streams that are there or watch the video streams that are at prisonplanet.tv. And don't forget, we produce a 7 days a week videos that are posted at prisonplanet.tv, 5 days a week, the nightly news, 6 days a week, the radio show, all at prisonplanet.tv. 15-day free trial at prisonplanet.tv, and your membership there makes this broadcast and what we're doing here every day possible. We're in a lot of trouble. The globalists are willing to do anything. They are so brazen, even though they've been caught over and over again. I mean, they got caught doing Fast and Furious because it was so big and had so many people involved, but still the media's only covered a few areas of it. It wasn't just shipping guns, folks. It was a lot more than that. Drugs back into the U.S., weapons to drug gangs around the U.S. The people at the top of law enforcement in this country are narcotics traffickers. Big Pharma that runs this country to a great extent, they were all the companies that brought in opium and cocaine before they developed synthetic drugs. They made drugs illegal in the last 90 years because they were losing their monopoly of bringing it in legally. So they just made it illegal so that they could bring it in and make even more money in the black market. That's what's really going on here. This is a criminal takeover. That's what the New World Order is. And make no mistake, I'm not proud of this. I'm not saying, oh, you should praise me for it. I'm risking my life, though, to bring you this information. Because I understand there's no future if we don't beat these people. Let's go to Steve in Florida, then Mike, Ron, and others. Steve, you're on the air.
Yeah, hey, Alex. A few weeks ago, you were interviewing David Icke, and as you were interviewing him, I was just doing some brainstorming and thinking about the globalists and how they operate. And the average American is basically clueless that these people are masters of deception and manipulation. They study humanity so they can get them to do what they want without them even knowing it and go along with what they want until it's too late, and then they spring the trap on them. And so I just had some thoughts I wanted to share, some insight into their psyche. These people believe they are superior to everyone in several ways. First of all, intellectually, they engage in psychological manipulation through the corporate media, false information.
They are disgusted having to look at their fellow humans and want us dead, and in all their writings, that's what they say, yes.
Yeah. Fake images and deceptive messages. They believe they're superior emotionally. They engage in emotional agitation through fear tactics, intimidation, playing on people's passions, lust, and sentiment. And physically, they believe they're superior. They engage in psychological or physiological deterioration through the toxins they put in the food, water, air, etc. And they add to the stress of an already high-pressured society. They believe they are superior economically, so they engage in financial degradation through theft, currency devaluation, credit, inflation, and taxation. Politically, they engage in tyrannical subjugation through unwarranted military force, unnecessary police brutality, unjust imprisonment, unconstitutional laws and proceedings, and unsuitable corrupt leadership. And then finally, they believe they are superior spiritually, so they engage in ecclesiastical domination through their false doctrine and teachings, their occult practices, their counterfeit church.
Let's go to Mike in Oregon. Mike, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Alex. It's great to talk to a fellow patriot.
Good to talk to you, brother.
So I've been listening to you for a while, and you've been saying that you've been putting your life on the line, and I believe it. And I wanted to take the step and do the same. And I come to you today with an idea that I think will bind all of us info warriors together and launch a cataclysmic attack on the globalist agenda. And to do that, I think that if we were to take some of the money from the info bomb this year, the money bomb this year, and put that towards producing some advertisements, either in video or audio or both, on your respective stations that you broadcast on, and target the sheeple, if you will, to notify them and inform them of what's really going on. And I think, honestly, that if you were to do this, we would all be happy to give you the money to do this and make it happen. I know I'm broke as it comes, but...
yeah, well, I don't... Listen, here's the deal. We reach tens of millions of people, but money-wise, I did the national ad for Stansberry Research dealing with QE3 about what's going to happen when that does finally come out. And I don't want to get into their budget, but it was a lot more than one of our money bombs would raise. I mean, a lot more every month. And you saw it on Fox, CNN, you name it. They didn't want my voice on Fox and CNN, and Stansberry had to play gutsball for about a month and not run the ads until they caved in. The establishment is that scared of me. So we've had national radio when Ted Anderson wanted me to endorse his gold company and run it on national ads. National syndicators refused to run my voice. The system is absolutely scared to death. Not even saying my name, my voice, they don't want out there for whatever reasons. I mean, quite frankly, it strikes fear into the globalist when I'm calm and not gibbering like a wild monkey like I usually do for whatever reason. And I think it's because I'm not afraid. When I get up here and I say I'm risking my life, these really are killers. But I'm so public, they don't want to kill me probably because it would just highlight everything I've said and done. It doesn't mean I might not make one of them angry and they'll have me killed. But, I mean, I'm willing to have that happen because these people have got to be defeated. I'm trying to build my organization up to a point where I can just do an hour-long news show and have it on time every night to deploy that. But God bless you, and I appreciate your call and your support, sir. Again, a lot of great ideas come from listeners. I need to be financially strong enough just to keep the employees I've got, and I've got to have some acorns buried in case we were attacked or, had long droughts of no funds. As we go into this depression, I've expended much of our backup capital just to get to the point I'm at right now. So I feel the great urgency and responsibility to deploy different programs against the globalists. We're going to have a franchise for InfoWars newspaper that's going to come out monthly, and that's the best thing in the free market is to have people that are already printers or already have newspapers to put out one of these in their area because they're going to try to shut the web down. And as print dies, there'll be a vacuum we can fill, what I call print 2.0. Visit infowars.com and prisonplanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.